if you take a wider shot, the Muslims, the Jewish, the Syrians, the Asians, all stem from a cultural and religious background that I wouldn't say idolize, but promotes family and looking out for family. Black people are the only race that had their culture ripped apart from them.
Left to my mother, she white. No.
It's not even mindset.
Grown Folks Only Podcast.
Welcome to Grown Folks Only Podcast, and today we're talking about colorism. Now, colorism is a social prejudice which differentiates us based on skin tones within the same racial class. The lighter the skin, the more privileged you appear to be. Skin tone discrimination influences from social mobility to job opportunities. And today we'll explore how colorism can influence self-worth, dating options, and life in general. Let's open the floor to our panelists.
When you look at the imagery around the world from different cultures, we realize there's always been a discrimination against the darker toned skin or set privilege to the lighter hue. And it's something that I don't think that would ever change unless we change the mindset of people from kids, so they're brought up in it. Anyone else has a...
We have one light-skinned person on the panel today. Extremely light-skinned.
Speak for the light-skinned people.
No, I'm not speaking for light-skinned people. I'm speaking for myself, but speaking from the point of view of the fact that I am a Black woman, and I always wish that my skin was a bit darker because I hate getting sunburned. I literally used to play sports and be in the sun all the time. It was very, very annoying to have to wear sunblock all the time or excessively put on and reapply and stuff like that. And then everybody else is fine in the sun and I'm just red like a lobster in 5 minutes of being in the sun. That's not fun. And even though I was considered light-skinned in the Caribbean in my own country, I'm not considered anywhere close to white. When you go elsewhere, I'm treated like a regular Black person. So, in my opinion, it wasn't an extra privilege or niceness to be light-skinned. I always saw the bad side effects to being light-skinned.
No, but you're talking about when you amongst other light-skinned people, but what if the main thing of colorism is in your own race? Do you find you get treated differently?
Sometimes. It all depends. In school, I did get treated different. In good ways and bad ways. Good ways in the sense that, I was classified as one of the white kids in school. And I'm going to school with a bunch of other Black people and we used to get to skip the line and there was areas where we used to sit down that nowhere else other people used to get to sit down at. Or if they did sit there, they were considered a friend of someone in the group. So you wouldn't just go and sit there if you weren't friends with someone from that particular group that used to sit there. I'm not saying that I used to ostracize people because I didn't. I was friends with everybody. Even up to this day, I'm friends with everybody. However, it's just, it used to be weird. And I basically, because I was light-skinned, I could have straddled between the two differences. I would hang out with the regular other people of darker complexion and chill with them. But you wouldn't see the rest of the other white kids hanging out with them.
I think it also depends on the context. So Femme would have kind of expressed her experience and her context. And for me, growing up in Trinidad, we have that stark difference between East Indian Black race in terms of usually East Indian population, they are a lot more successful, they get more opportunities, and they often look down on persons like me. or even darker.
With the white or just?
You know what? You know what? So I've always been that has always been ingrained in my mind from my parents. So you have to watch out for East Indian people because of that aspect of colorism. You know, the discrimination that exists unfortunately, between those two races and just opportunities. And it's sad. It still happens today. And, you know, it's sometimes because of that, your own people, your own race will not look out for you. They're not trying to build you up compared to, you know, how other races, East Indian, white, how they'll build up their own.
That's very interesting, especially as a metropolitan society as Trinidad, having to deal with the reverberations of slavery. And it's very interesting, we have beautiful skin tones in our panel. And next we go to the beautiful Kay. Let's say your experience with this.
Similar to what Simone expressed, we do have that here in St. Lucia. You would find persons with lighter skin tone being liked more by persons who have darker complexions or persons with a certain hair type. You could see it even in the workplaces. They fit certain job descriptions, or they hold certain positions, and then when you have other persons probably in a darker complexion or tougher or coarser hair, they may not be exposed to those type of positions and whatnot. And even within the schools, you would go to school, you will probably see the teacher like that child more because they might be considered brighter. I'm not saying that was always the case, but you would see maybe they're more patient because they would say maybe that family might be more affluent than the person with the darker complexion and whatnot. But I experienced it more in the working world, where it was real when I noticed that employers employed persons that fit the description of what they believe would be better, with longer hair, lighter skin, come from a background. So with that being said, yeah, I believe it's similar to what Simone experienced. We do have that here in St.
Did you get that inference from your mother? Did your mother ever speak about, you know, this, stay away from black people or people over there? And you ever got anything like that?
To be very honest, my mother, I never think my mother could see. Yes, now wait, let me be careful. Left to my mother, she white. Now,
A little delulu.
not enough about this, mommy, sorry.
It licks the night.
You know, not in a bad way, but she just believes. You know, I mean, even with us, she would tell me stories like, you know, when I had you, people used to tell me, where I going with that white baby?
No, but you know,
Because I was in truth, I was very, very fair. Right? Very, very fair in
you're
complexion.
still golden brown skin.
Now, I love that term that you used because I actually get offended when persons call me shabbing. I don't consider myself to be a shabbing. I'm brown skinned or light skinned. You understand? I don't consider myself a shabbing. As far as I'm concerned, my mother thinks you white. I think I black. Okay.
Maybe I'm the wrong person because I remember people tell me, why go with that light skinned person? I said, what are you talking about? But that person, bro, what you talking about? that shabbing you was walking in there. Now, for those of you that don't know, shabbing is a St. Lucian colloquial term for a lighter skin or red woman, as is known in Trinidad and the
Red
wider
woman.
Caribbean. Ashton.
Well, I, for one, personally, I haven't experienced any sort of situation like that. Yeah, but again, you know, when you grow up, when you get older, you see it happen, you hear people talk about it. So you definitely, you know, even with media too, you get the imagery of like, you know, somebody's supposed to have a particular look, is supposed to have a particular color, skin tone about them. And you have the perception that, well, yeah, that's who it's supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to look for. That may not be the case, but then it's also always ingrained in our minds. And I think that could be coming from, as far back as slavery, yeah, I think so, because, we were always the lighter skinned people who were, in the master's house. Everybody else was outside working the fields.
Damn, actually, you're taking my job from me. Actually. That's good. That's good. Because where did the whole light skin thing come from?
Well, if we go far back into slavery, it would have been the slave master and his hands who would rape or have secret relationships with the slaves, and then you get the mocha skin, which were called mulattoes, which were normally the ones that were put in the house to be the house slaves who were treated better because they were either known to be an offspring of one of the hands or the slave master or something of that sort. And we also cannot, what's the word I should use? We cannot forget that after slavery, we also had the trade going on through the Caribbean from the Spaniards, English, French who came through, which gave rise to, I met someone once who was between K and Simone's complexion, but she had green eyes. And I remember asking her, we're talking about the contact. She's like, no, that's my natural eyes. I'm like, serious? And she's like, she comes from a particular town in Jamaica that have a German history. And all the women from them have yellow, green, gold, like all the colors that you'd see the Caucasians have, they have it. And it's just filtered down through their bloodline in just their eyes. They are light brown, golden skin, not as dark, but they have that. And I think throughout the Caribbean, we can pinpoint different places like here, Choiseul, Labrie, which is where our Shabines would come from, because that's where the French would dock.
Oh,
and the men, and the men would come and, like the old people say, pick fairs because they've been at sea for months, and they would just have offspring. And then the Shabines and, as they would say, the men Chabers would be that,
Nice. Now, I have some light-skinned friends, and I have the unfortunate experience of dealing with a couple of Shabins in my life, and we sword fight and whatnot. But you're absolutely right. It comes from classism and two things at play. We like to see money, and when you see some of these Europeans, you think of them as money. And then there are a little bit of social engineering play. I don't know if you ever heard of the Willie Lynch theory.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a slave master from the Caribbean who figured rivalry. Rivalry comes from the river, the people over there. If I could point out something that's different in you from them, I could make you hate somebody that is very similar to you, but just looks a little different. And then I can come in and take whatever you have underneath your enemy and your enemy. And I pretend to be both of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
On top
Still
of that,
happens to this day.
Yeah, on top of that, I make children with this dark-skinned girl, and I would definitely appreciate my daughter while hating my daughter at the same time. My mulatto baby. I will bring her in the house, but she's still a slave. You reconcile that by bringing her in the house and you leave the darkies to work outside. We still feel it today.
Right. Even in today, well, I want to speak on what I believe is happening here in St. Lucia. I've noticed that there's also another reason why we get stigmatized. And I believe it's because even the movements with, for example, how we consider our coolies or our Indians, how they maneuver, and versus how somebody who raised in a darker skin tone family, you could see the vast difference in how the homes, how they grew up within the homes. And even as they get older, I will expand how they work together. So for example, a Coolie family or an Indian family, right? they would create something called generation wealth, right? And businesses where when the children or their children get older, they come to work within those businesses, right? They have quicker inheritance because they would have been left with probably more, maybe in land, in homes, or in monies, versus within a black home, per se, for lack of a better word. You would have to find your inheritance, or when I say find, build it, create it on your own, right? Create your business. Like, you have to fend for yourself more than how those persons who came from these homes would have to fend for themselves.
I want to say something towards what you said there, which is quite interesting. But there's a thing a lot of people don't understand about even some of the words we use. Back in the day, if you call someone a coolie,
That's a derogatory
it was a
term.
derogatory thing. Also in South Africa and everywhere else. What we used to say when I was a kid is someone is a dogla, which was an
Mix,
Indian
yeah.
and a black mix, which was still considered derogatory. We were also told about the Negmaos. That would be the people on the wharf and doing whatever it is. But that terminology stems from the Rabo Estate revolt in the slaveries. Coming from French, where they would call the black people neg, and Mao means to escape or run, right? So they were called neg
Black
Mao,
runaway.
which was a term that was deemed with pride. Because we escaped, we went into the hills, and it reached the point that the Rabo Estate is when the French came in to help, because they were fighting the British, and that is where the independence, in a sense, started. Now, we also have to remember the Indians came here as paid slaves. So they consider themselves indentured laborers, but still paid slaves.
They're not slaves.
All right? But
They were paid.
right?
Economical slave. What are you
Right?
talking about?
They deemed themselves better than the black people because the black people came from slavery. You know?
We were dogs.
All right?
We were lower than dogs. That's what
And
they considered
that,
us as.
like Jason mentioned, the Willie Lynch theology is he developed a system that created a way to keep slaves in slavery. And that has passed down genetically to us. So going towards the Indians would come and build generation wealth. It was ingrained in them from before they came here. So they would come, I'm sacrificing myself right now to get money to make sure my kids and my grandkids are good. Whereas we were pitted against each other. We also have to remember the biggest, blackest male slave did not get licks. You know what he did? He was put in a house, he was fed, and all his job was to lay pipe on all the females to create a better slave race. So you fall in, let's say I fall in love with you, and then they have 6'8" coot there in a house, and then they just come and take you and bring you for him to breed you.
Right.
I can't do anything about it. And the science has shown that things like that pass down through generations.
Yep.
So that's where it stems from.
And we also fight our own people. Like we
We do.
each other up, and that it goes back to what Carol was saying, that it's engraved in us. It's not something that you could just erase just like that. And I'm not saying that it won't ever change, but it will take time. It took time for us to be enslaved. We were enslaved for however long. It will take time for us to mentally be out of that.
It's true that
But
to that.
how long though? I mean, it's been so many years already since slavery, and then still.
Okay, the Jews talk about Holocaust all the time. They still living in that moment. So why we can't still live in a moment?
Hey, there are two words we don't mention. God and Jews.
I think it's interesting too how everybody's kind of touching on mindset to see how that has perpetuated through generations and generations, especially on the side of colorism. It could take different directions, especially, as a black person, sometimes persons of our race, they feel ashamed, or, you know, and that's why the whole bleaching thing happened with that very popular dancehall artist years ago. And then I know a lot of East Indian people back home in Trinidad, they still use bleaching creams. They would avoid the sun. And you would actually hear them saying, "Why are you getting so dark?" Like, that's like a no to them. Like, if, especially East Indian race, like, the lighter they are, the more attractive, the more appealing they are. So it's really that mindset, that negative connotation to a darker skin tone that unfortunately Caribbean still has.
Now, especially if St. Lucia, it's interesting that St. Lucia has a mainly Afro population, with the fringes, the minorities being Caucasian, Indian, and Native or Amerindian, as they would say. You come from a place where it's more metropolitan. I come from a place with more metropolitan. And she was talking about how Indians build wealth. From where I come from, what you described to me sound like Muslims. They live as family, they commune with each other, and you never see a suffering Muslim. Right. That's what I realized as an adult in another country, and somebody telling me, hey, you never see people suffering, you know, they live together. They have something called Ramadan where they go without eating, I believe, so that they can feel, they fast for a long period so they can feel the suffering. I like to have that experience.
They always take care of their own, and that's something, unfortunately, Black people don't do. Either because they don't want to or they can't, for whatever reason.
I like how it's woven into the religion.
That we refuse to do it. Mm-hmm. We feel it as a burden.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because whereas, okay, say for example, not that I'm pinpointing any particular race or anybody for that matter, but for example, the Chinese that come here, or any Asian persons that come here, the Syrians that come here, and anybody from that side of the world that comes over here, they come with their own family and some other people from other families that they know from back home.
You're
Sometimes
right.
they don't even know them. They have them living in the house. They all working together. Mm-hmm. They start one business together. Then that person branch off, they make enough money, they buy their own house.
Right.
They bring a next set, 10 more people living in a 2-bedroom house. They do it all over again. Until everybody have a house, everybody have a business. Some of them come here and they only have a suitcase full of clothes and they're selling out of the car, right? And next thing you know, they have a whole big store in the middle of Castries.
And now they're taking over.
Or wherever it is. They've been sent to, well, not that they've been sent to take over, wrong choice of words, but they do come here and they basically do what we can.
This is the this.
Well,
Listen, there's a lot of things that people have to look at. Everything you're saying is correct, but if you take a wider shot, the Muslims, the Jewish, the Syrians, the Asians, all stem from a cultural and religious background that I wouldn't say idolize, but promotes family and looking out for family. Black people are the only race that had their culture ripped apart from them and brought and forced upon them another culture. When you look at social media today, there's a documentary I watched. It was called White It Out. And all it did was pinpoint the fact that because people of the lighter hue were considered more attractive, because what society was perpetrating at the time, they pushed lighter skinned people into the media, into the spotlight that you saw. This is what you were consuming. You consume that long enough, you wish your child to be lighter so she or she can get a better opportunity in life. You would like to look for a light-skinned mate to make sure your kids maybe get a better position in life. And you subconsciously don't even realize that you're discriminating against your own people because this person is darker, this person is more pure black, and I don't want to associate with them because I don't have more opportunities with you. I'm going to go with the people who are lighter skin, you know, as we call the local whites and all these people, to see how I can get myself within that niche. So when you say that they come, and it's not like they come to just do it. It's just ingrained in them. It's just their culture. That's how they operate. If one comes, the 10 will lend them the money to start their business, and they will make sure that they're never let down because that's family.
And they're also not interested in mixing either. We have zero problems with mixing with everybody, but they're not interested. Their focus is not to mix and mingle with everybody.
So do you think social engineering stopped at slavery?
No.
No.
Thank you.
But
Okay. All right. Speaking on colorism, and if we have to go by the definition,
Voice of production.
that we saying voice of production, yes. If we have to speak on the definition and what it does, I think it speaks more to us within a certain class having issue with our own views, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. So let's understanding what the whole concept and how it spirals from racism, which is what we generalize in a sense, white versus black versus Indian versus whatever. Let's talk about within our own class, us black people not having the appreciation for the melanin in our skins,
Facts.
right? Not having the appreciation for our natural hair, that
yes,
kind of stuff.
it's instilling us to cover our hair.
I would like to open up by saying it's a scientific fact that melanin is an adaptation to deal with radiation. And to be in this region and to have melanin is a blessing. That means you're less susceptible to the damaging effects of the sun, which is warping your DNA. Now, how it works in our made-up society is I need to control this class of people. I am lighter skinned than them. I come from a place where there isn't much sunlight. And my skin is a detriment to me in this region. How can I flip that? I can align my skin color with purity, goodness, and righteousness. Did that voice come from inside or outside? I remember as a child growing up, I recognized it came from the television. It came from the toys we played with. That's the programming. The successful programming convinces you that the voice is yours that came from outside.
Yep, agreed. I totally agree with the point that you're making. And now that I'm sitting thinking of it, even in today's society, you still have young persons, young men say, you know, when they describe the ideal woman that they want to be with, it's they're lighter in complexion, the hair nice and long and curly or straight. And even recently, I was watching a video on social media, and this gentleman, a black man, he's fair in complexion, but he's considered a black man, an African American. He said that this is why his preference is white woman, because she don't have to put no wig on her head. What's under your head? What's on your head? Is that your hair? So right there and then, if you are an insecure black woman, you would think like, I have to always cover my hair for me to fit in the likings of, to find a partner or that sort of thing. And I'm like, this is a programming. This is what it is because of what we've seen. And we believe so. But have you look at black people? Black people are beautiful. They're gorgeous. This is why we have that black girl magic. We are beautiful. Not because I decide to braid my hair. It's because I'm versatile and flexible and I can decide today I want to be Tiana, Taylor, Khadijah. You know what I'm saying? Britney.
Anybody.
You know? It's the truth. We have that power within us that these people, these human beings, don't possess.
Okay, can we play a little game here? Let me ask the guy, pretend your girlfriend not watching or listening, huh? Starting with Ashton. Ashton, how would you describe your dream woman you see 10 years old versus today?
We're talking about appearance, eh? Don't come and say 10 years old. We don't know, but you know, we're talking about appearance.
If you have to think, you have to pass it off to Carol first.
Yeah, I might need a few minutes to think
A
about
few
it.
minutes, you have a couple seconds. Carol, let's see what you say.
You're saying my 10-year-old self versus my
Sure.
At 10, I actually liked dark-skinned women. I like to look at dark-skinned women. And now I more look at personality, but I have a preference in terms of body shape. So over the years, maturing and knowing myself and understanding to look past skin tone or where you come from or what your surname is, I veer more towards personality. That's one of the bigger things for me. And if we have a connection, that's the big thing for me.
That's big. Ashton, back to you.
Okay. So I think you said 10-year-old versus now.
Yeah.
I think it still goes back to the same point I made earlier. Me 10 years old, you have a lot of foreign TV, especially if you watch cable or USA, all these other channels.
So you had like the white girls.
Oh, exactly.
You had like the white girls.
Saved by the Bell, the Baywatches, all these other characters out there. You see, all you see is white or light-skinned people.
Victoria's
Even women with
Secret.
light skin. All these characters are light skin and
So that's what you're saying in your head.
Yes, but can you blame me?
So what about now?
That's all you see. That's all you see on TV. That's all you see,
We listen and we don't judge.
That's 10-year-old him.
Now it's a totally different ballgame, yeah? Now it's a totally different ballgame. You actually have, black models, you have black women
Gorgeous
being
black
portrayed
models.
on TV now because they suddenly discover us now, they can make some money. So, that's what we're becoming valuable to them in that sense.
All right, Jason, what about you?
Oh, shucks, I that too. Oh, shucks, boy. If you have to ask my friends, my friends would say I have a preference. Eh? My friends would say, I like a shabin. That is what my friends would say. And I would say that is not true. That is not true. What I recognize, certain people don't approach me. And it's a shabin that have the balls to come and talk to me.
So the shabin.
So I end up with the shabin. No, not the shabins hotter. The shabins would come to me. But I recognize, thinking about that episode, I say, boy, I think what I really like is a vex face girl.
A what?
A vex face girl.
They call us the rest.
Resting bitch face.
Yeah, the resting bitch face. I like a girl that look very
Rude.
nice when she's serious. And nobody want to approach her. I say, yeah, that's my type.
That
That's my type.
that shows something deeper psychologically, yeah. So
What happened to our voice to here?
Voice of production. Voice of production is a guy, so I like to know what voice of production would like.
Go ahead.
All I get, I just appreciated the nice smile.
At 10 years old,
Not
Nice.
how innocent. How innocent.
I appreciate the big face, but nice smile.
You have to get them to smile though.
so you're not going to ask us,
Smile.
there's a preference in the women.
Here, ready to say.
You ain't say your
So, in context of what we're talking about,
Oh, here.
in context of colorism and everything, right? I feel that subconsciously we are all affected. We've all been affected by the colorism because we
Yeah.
give people privilege innately without even realizing that's what we're doing. So like you'll go and then you'll see this shopping girl, right? And she looks thin, and like you give her more respect, for lack of a better word, then you give somebody and you see that.
In darker
that
complexion,
that
yeah.
shade.
Vice versa for the men, you would want you would say you want a softer hair man or a man because you thought, or I believe that we were taught that these were the persons who had more monies, lighter in complexion, the white men, the Japals,
children.
you better hair for your children, more wealth for your children because again, generational wealth, etc., etc. So it's not just, with the women that you're like.
I don't want to hear about hyperflex. I want to hear what you like as a woman. If your boyfriend not there, I want to hear what you like as a woman.
The comments are coming.
Okay. I have always.
She's a comment for kicks today.
Wish yourself.
This is okay. I have always liked persons not because of their appearance. And I remember that because somebody who I dated said to me, "You like ugly people." Yeah. So
You gotta balance off.
I've never been somebody who is attracted to you because you're handsome. To me,
It's about your personality.
it's you treat me too. Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that. Though.
Let me tell you, I feel for the exes of yours because they might be like,
Dead, not dead jobber,
they
but
dead.
You said that dead twice.
To a crime.
they're good looking.
They can pass. Okay.
And they're alive, yeah? They're alive. Okay. Gotta make sure.
Oh my God.
All right, so for the record, Kay likes personality.
I do 100. And the darker the berry,
The sweeter the juice. All right.
That's why you shed. That's why you shed the juice.
Wow. I really can't believe
Remember that,
the universe, whatever the society, the world, they still haven't gotten to this point where they value us enough. The power we possess, we so intelligent, we could so creative. We underestimate the power of black people. Black people we're beautiful. Beautiful.
So hold on, Kurt. We still on what you like segment. So say what Simone like.
What is keeping in my
All right. So I think younger me preferred lighter skin, red skin guys. Then after a bad experience with a red man, I say never again. So now, no, it was just never again. So now I think I'm more on personality making me laugh. I still have a type, but more personality and just kind of taking life easy, and that's pretty much it.
Well. I would say I was more focused on the hair. It wasn't necessarily about your skin complexion because at my 10-year-old self, I hated my hair. It was hard to deal with. I couldn't deal with the afro all the time. People wanted to touch that shit. I'm just like, no, I can't deal with this. Like, I just don't pick up my nice afro and you come in and want to put your whole hand in my head. Like, no. So I was more focused on checking guys for the hair. I didn't care what skin color you were, but if your hair was looking nice and wavy and curly and loose curls,
You work with her?
yeah, we
Okay.
could work together.
Okay.
But then, like now, it's all about personality and how you make me feel. If you could make me laugh and laugh at my dumb jokes, then yeah, we could do it.
I don't think I
I be making some corny jokes.
Alright, question. In today's Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
Does colorism play a role in who gets hired or who gets promoted?
agreed. Yeah. It still happens.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
Yeah,
it's not.
I agree.
it's
Not as much as before.
much. They're more focused on how much time you can put into the job.
Really?
If you have a husband or if you have a wife and kids and people that need you, they're more focused on that as opposed to what color your skin is. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's not as bad as it used to.
I think it's a lot better from 30 years ago to now.
For sure.
Before I've heard people get jobs without degrees because of their skin,
Social mobility.
and they overlook people with experience and qualifications. And now I think it has moved pretty good to the point that you're gonna get hired by your qualifications and what you can do.
Now we have to.
I still think I think it's bad, especially in the private sectors. It's horrible.
Private or public?
Public. So no.
Oh,
Private. I'm talking about hotel industries and these places.
Hotel is it's a different ballgame altogether.
But we're speaking in work.
Yeah,
so
I know. But at the same point in time, right, I also believe that hospitality people, when they're hiring people, they really need to be a bit more forefront as to what it is that they're looking for up front.
you're still
Instead
taking
of
the
wasting
lighter skin
people's
people.
time. Because it's like,
And some companies
So it's like
face it, and for them, some people, the face has to be like a sharp in.
Hold on.
it still happens a lot, both private and public sectors. I think I know you're saying it has improved probably, but it shouldn't be a thing at all.
It's
I know it shouldn't be a thing.
I agree, yeah.
I'm just saying it's better.
It stems from colorism with the slight branches in terms of, remember back in the day, if you carried your locks, you couldn't work in a bank, you couldn't be a police officer, you couldn't work in government.
Enter certain islands.
Well, here, but in the US and the UK and stuff, you can now be a police officer if you have dreadlocks or your long hair, even stemming to our kids in school, Rastafarian kids in school when I was young. That was hardly ever seen.
Yeah.
You understand? And even like 20 years ago, they would have to make sure their hair was covered in a particular way and wrapped and whatnot. And recently, now that they've changed the law, but I remember recently there was an uproar where a kid who had a little afro, Craig Mack, went to school and the principal made a whole issue. And there was a white kid with long hair, not even tied in a pole, just let down.
That is class. That is colorism.
Exactly.
Right there.
You know?
That's colorism right there.
It happened. So they've changed that now.
Now, just
because someone
not to interrupt or disagree with anything because I agree with all of you. But there's a little note that we have to make. Some of the changes that we see when it comes to colorism is only because the fact that we created as that what we have as classes that we see as a fact, they take it up as their own. So, for example, Rastafarians being more accepted because you find that the white culture or the other cultures
So adopted it. Yeah. Agreed.
So because they're accepting of that culture, by extension of their acceptance, we as a black society
started to
are almost compelled to accept.
But don't you think it's because, for example, Rastafarianism, don't you think it's because the approach became more aggressive?
No. I don't think it's not of the person, it's not of the people. I only think of what it is and what we're doing. We as a society, and I think that kind of bleeds into something that we shared, not on the same topic, because we shared a video in our group about the corruption with Africa and that kind of thing. It's not the exact same thing, but the context is similar. That we adopt all of what our culture, all of our doctrines from somebody else. So when we look at those societies and they changes, we mimic and we change according to them. So the fact that you go to the bank and you don't see a white facing person is only because bank rules in general kind of more liberal. Am I making that?
Yeah, now I like to interject there and give a little history lesson. The famous singer Bob Marley, right? Half black, half white. You know, this man was not accepted by his own people. You relate to the fact that you have to be accepted by other people. That is colorism also. When it's cool to be Rasta because of people like Bob Marley, when he went to Europe with his mellow sound and he understood the system, he understood that he had to make his music more commercial. Long before Drake, he had to make his music more commercial. He integrated rock into his music, and that's where him and people like Peter Tosh differed. Peter was more radical. He was more, let's try and soothe them through music. He integrated his music with more rock, and then he went to Europe. When they see the Europeans accepting it, just like St. Lucia and Bouillon, or what they call it? Denry segment. When they had the French people started saying, oh, boy, that's our national treasure. Let's do this, let's do that, let's have the museum. They didn't like him back in his day, you know, but when they see the Europeans start accepting him, that's when they start accepting him.
He was not accepted by both sides, neither the whites nor the Jamaicans. And
so how was he so popular and famous?
There's some people who are born with a gift, with a path in life that is just unstoppable. And if you listen to some of his songs when he was just starting out, his songs always spoke of freedom, of unity, of love. When what you're talking about is Exodus. That album was the turning point for Bob Marley, where he blew up. Where if you listen to his music, when you listen to his music before Exodus, he had his message, and then he created Exodus. And I don't know if this is a scientific fact, but because of where we have come from and our lineage, whether it be African, European, Asian, whatever it is, our bodies react to music differently. In UWI in Trinidad, I remember maybe 20, 25 years ago, I had some friends who were there. I'd gone to Trinidad for a week. And they were saying that the engineering program was looking at teaching something called soca resonance, which was something they discovered that buildings which were they were sound by the engineers in terms of the design, were having cracks during carnival. And then they went into understanding the movement of people and actually doing studies where Black people listen to the bass in the music. Caucasians listen to a different frequency in the music. Asians listen to all right? So going back to Bob Marley, his music gave a rhythmic frequency on all levels.
It was a bridge.
Yeah, so everyone was able to listen to it.
Yeah.
Bob Marley went to places where no one spoke English and they were singing his songs word for word. You understand? When you have Bishop Tutu saying his father quoted Bob Marley to him when he was a young boy. And then you have people from around the world that will sit down and listen, presidents, leaders that say sometimes when they wanted to relax, they will put on Bob Marley. 40 plus years later, he is still one of the top artists, even over Michael Jackson on iTunes and different things. It says something that we cannot even explain or fathom what he did.
Can I reel this back in a little bit? I noticed a little misconception. We have to not also mistake colorism with pretty privilege. We have three beautiful young ladies on the panel. The face opened the door. It's not just a light-skinned people thing. If you're looking good, you automatically halfway through. You just have to not put your foot in your mouth. How do you feel about that?
Just have to bat their eyes and they're good.
Yeah. I have a lot of experiences with this. So sometimes it could be wanted privilege. Like if my tire is flat and I just have to come outside and some guys, oh, thank you so much. Just, but sometimes it kind of robs
The wrong way.
women of the opportunity of doing things themselves or just kind of reaching a certain level that they felt like they didn't have to climb that high, if that makes sense.
An effort.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have the ability to say no.
Say no to what?
Point.
You have the ability to say no. So
You ever heard the term, you pretty for a dark-skinned girl?
As if dark-skinned people not pretty.
I've heard that term, yeah.
That's a bit, it's a bit of an oxymoron to say you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl.
Yeah, because you're trying to say that dark-skinned people aren't pretty.
I say it as a straightforward insult.
Yeah, that's also colorism right there.
You know, you can go to same and say, "But you're ugly for a white person." You know?
I've seen some ugly shopping, so
Well,
when you're really ugly, if you're shopping and you're still looking ugly.
That's
Wait.
true. Yeah, so you're really ugly for a shabby girl.
So let's go for a little bit. Let's stick on that one for a little bit. The concept of pretty
For a dark-skinned
for
woman.
the shit that
You are, right.
Right? And let's not talk about just our experiences, but let's try to see from what we have observed from people, how it could be. Well, we know it's offensive. We know we all can agree that's offensive, right? But how would you help somebody navigate a situation like that? If you have a young daughter, a young son who's considered to be handsome because he's, for a dark-skinned guy, he's handsome. How would you? Let's get to express to people how we have to come out of that mindset.
We start from the parents, huh?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
So
the parents.
no, what I mean is like the parent would have to ground themselves in accepting themselves for who they are before they can instill that in the child.
Yeah.
Because you can't instill something into your child that you have not instilled into yourself. You have to understand that, okay, I went through it as I was a kid. I was dark. They gave me hell. I was picked on. I've now understood that men have come to me. My husband loves me. I have beautiful children. I love myself. Now you see your daughter, your son going through the same thing, then you could do it. But if you're self-conscious or you have low self-esteem about yourself, I don't feel it would be easy to instill that in your child because your children emulate you. So even if you say it to them, they observe you and they will see through the cracks.
But we have, I mean, it's not the question voice reproduction asked, but we have confident, ugly people too. We have persons.
And that's totally
And
fine.
sometimes that makes them good looking, huh?
Yeah,
Just because they're confident.
just because they're confident.
Yeah.
All that and pack that to the side, right? That makes them good looking.
I think Kim talks from experience, huh?
In the dark.
We am I allowed to keep it real?
Yeah.
Right. I want to keep it real.
The few ugly guys?
Pardon? Yeah, considering that I don't watch face. Right? I feel like it's fair.
What? Nah,
It's fair.
Keep it real, kid. Keep it real. Keep it real.
It's fair. Yeah.
and we confirming they're alive still. Right? They're still alive, right? Just making sure.
It's so long. Let's look it. Let's look.
Right? As much as we're trying to be diplomatic, they have ugly people. Yeah. No matter what race you are.
I will just slight points in that. The term ugly or handsome or beautiful is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
One. Because you will go to Africa and how media will show Africans are not the best because of what people have been programmed to see on media as what is beautiful. And then you'll go and then you will understand when the men and women who they consider beautiful just because of the different features. And if you have immersed yourself in a culture long enough, if you're not from it, you will start to see it through their eyes. So when we say they're ugly people or they're beautiful people,
That means when I say ugly, no matter the race, that's not a colorism topic. Yeah? That you have ugly people. It's not about your skin complexion. They just have. Because I see a lot of
They're just lacking in that.
you understand? So I don't want you all to think I talking about black people to me cannot.
That's your preference.
You understand? Facts. You understand?
So let's go to
Yeah. But I feel like you have to choose one struggle. Right? You cannot be ugly and have an ugly personality.
Facts.
Because they have ugly people that are confident, but they're not nice people in terms of their personality.
and they're nice people that have bad attitudes and makes them ugly.
Exactly. And they have
I've met a
nice
couple of
people, gorgeous people, but their attitude makes them very ugly.
Yep.
So that's why I say, can I be real? You understand? I know we talking about colorism, etc. But I feel like that's important to touch on.
The fact.
Because I have met persons that have beautiful personality and they were not the best looking. You understand?
You can look past it.
And I can look past it because
And I've met persons who would hit the 10 in terms of look, but when they open their mouth and the nonsense they will speak, that will just turn you off and say, okay. Yeah.
so that's why I'm saying you need to pick a struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah, you cannot do both.
I remember watching there's another famous podcast, Shits and Gigs. And Fuhad was they were reading off
Tweets.
Twitter feed. And the guy was saying, so the question was, how did you get with the person you are? And the guy said he used to see this girl at the club. And one night, his friends left and he asked her for a ride home. And she drove to her place and said, I'll take you home in the morning.
Oh, shit.
And brought him inside. James said, she could be a 2. I'm going inside because that was a way to gag to get me. Mm-hmm. So it goes to what you're saying, like, your attitude.
That's not like that song, Hit It in the Morning, eh? What?
J. Cole.
All right, so I mean, we didn't get everybody's feedback on the matter. So let's just go back into it a bit.
Two of you like you.
Again, we are addressing colorism and you pretty or dark skin or you handsome or dark skin. How do we get to change how can we encourage? I know Carol mentioned from being from home. What are some of the other things that we need to do culturally to help that dynamic, that culture of colorism to come out of it?
I think for start, we have to accept everybody for their own image. And if we can do that, we can instill that in our children. Okay? To learn, understand, and appreciate everybody's unique features, unique qualities, how they look, how they're shaped, and understand it. And I feel like if you as an adult can get to that place where you can just look past people's physical appearance, it becomes easier for you to instill it in your children.
Okay, Ashton, let's see what you have to say.
Good point, but then I always want to ask the question, how do we do it? If you do not accept yourself, how can you, like Carol pointed out, how can you train your children? You have to get to that point where you really sit down and say, well, you know, boy, that's something from the Stone Ages. We have to get past that, you know?
We have to teach our children sensitivity.
But you haven't accepted yourself. You're not captaining the ship.
So if I can accept the concept of sensitivity, I can instill it in my child.
So that's a good point Kay mentioned, kind of, because we only talking about the household parents, but the external factors that we can't control in our children's lives that they're exposed to. Bullying is a big part of, that kind of mindset perpetuating in children. So it starts from the home, yes, but there are certain external factors and environments that our children are exposed to that unfortunately the society is just not meeting right now.
Ferry?
Well, I agree with all the points that were made in terms of, in terms of the fact that if you don't believe in yourself or think about and accept the parts of you that you need to instill in your child to overcome this, you can't pass it on if you don't believe it in yourself. Like, for example, I used to hate my hair. I said that before. I literally used to hate my hair. And people used to bully me in school in terms of the fact that, oh, you white, how you have black hair? Like, that's the only thing on you that black your hair. And so I used to feel a bit self-conscious about it till I begged my mom for her to relax my hair. And then when I was in the later parts of secondary school going into college, I no longer wanted relaxed hair anymore. I was tired of it. It was annoying. I literally just didn't like the whole process of me going to the hairdresser, sitting down for how much hours for them to do my hair. So I eventually did the big chop. I cut it off and I tried to grow locks. I said that wasn't for me at that time. I wasn't in the right frame of mind yet. No, you're laughing. I seriously, I wasn't in the right frame.
Ashton looked at you like, what?
No, I wasn't in the right frame of mind yet. And so it just wasn't the right time for me. I didn't have the patience nor the mindset to go through that. So locks is something that you have to do when it's a patience thing. Your hair going to grow in different ways, different trends, different sections. And you have to accept that.
Right.
You have to accept that what you're seeing on Facebook, TikTok, wherever you look at YouTube, wherever you're looking at other people's locks, your locks not gonna look the same. I had to accept that my hair texture is different in 3 different parts of my head. I had to accept that figure out how to do my hair, what hair products worked in my hair. I had to accept all these things. Now that I've accepted that, I tried my locks again. Boom, bang, bang. But it was COVID that really pushed me to cut out all the chemicals out my hair and just stick to my natural hair. I've learned to love my hair to the point where I don't want no creamy crack in my head ever again.
So
I had to get to a point.
The point
to
of
love myself.
acceptance, yes.
That's the main point. Acceptance, yes.
All right, so in closing,
Wait, don't close it yet. Don't close it yet. This will be next week. Alright? I want to hand my opinion as to what I think has to happen in change. I think all what we do as individuals is important. I agree with that. But like you said, the external pressures of society and what it contributes to colorism is where we have to have that dynamic shift.
Right.
And sometimes the dynamic shift is just like a Bob Marley appearance or something. So you have this red gem that have to appear to have that shift in the mindset, that shift in the concept, colorism. And this all stems from leadership.
Right.
Right? When we as a society, as black people, can accept us as black people, as leaders, is the only time I believe we will truly deal with colorism.
Right.
Where you could accept more black people in leading roles, from the highest of the office to the managers in the store, when we could accept and give regard and respect to the individuals who are black facing just like us,
Right.
and show them the same respect as those that were white facing or Indian facing or whatever other color that we were talking about, that's when we truly can see an effect and a change in it.
Right.
So we need to play our part when we have to play our part to not to allow the small echo chambers, because remember we are predominantly black society, and yet still we are always eggshelling around the concept of white and other colors. So we need to be able to accept leadership from a black facing perspective. That's in my opinion.
So there you have it, folks. In closing, the question I was gonna ask was, how do we break the cycle of colorism, which that was the voice of production take on how to break the cycle of colorism. And I would like to hear our panelists' thoughts on how to break the cycle of colorism. Don't think about it, just let it flow.
To break that cycle, we need to look at the individual for who they are, not what they look like or where they come from. So if you're in a workplace, you hire someone that is qualified for the job. If the job requires a specific image, that is a different thing, and maybe the company might need to change that around. But in terms of any and everything you look at in life, look at who the person is and know or what they look like, and slowly we'll get there.
Okay, nice. Femi?
Skip me for now.
Okay. So what?
Oh gosh. Kind of similar to Carol's point, what this person brings to the table. So whether it be from that kind of workplace perspective, and qualification wise, oftentimes we don't see our own people in top positions, not necessarily because we're not qualified, but just because of those opportunities that we are afforded. And especially in, as it starts from the school and from that level of children, it's important that we as a society instill the right characteristics in our children and how to treat other people.
So what is the right characteristics?
Don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know someone. It's really interesting. Like when you would see kind of racism, colorism come from like children. Children don't know that concept when they're young. They see their friend Jimmy and Jerome playing. Jimmy's a white man, Jerome is a white boy, and Jerome is a black boy. So they don't know that concept when they're young. As they get older and they're conditioned into a certain thinking, then that's where the problem happens.
I think we have... Okay, for my approach, I think that we first need to, as Black people, we first need to understand where we came from and how society has made us believe we're supposed to fall in a particular bracket. And I think sometimes it is necessary that we be a little... Well, I mean, we are already considered aggressive people because of, maybe how we grew up. But I think sometimes we have to be a little aggressive because we have a lot of potential, and we have to accept that, even not just in the working world, even in our personal lives, that there are other qualities to look out for, as opposed to looking at person's physical appearance or color of their skin because of what we were programmed to accept. And I think that could assist with the topic, colorism.
I, for one, definitely agree with the points that were made. I think we need to really look at the individual and not necessarily where you're from, color of your skin, zip code, area code, country, whatever it may be. But the first thing and foremost is self-acceptance. Look in the mirror, see that person and say, well, you know, that person is amazing. You know, because each of us is really the best of the best. You know, we were made in the image of a higher power.
Higher power. Okay. In closing, I would like to say that there is no such thing as a misshaped cloud. All the clouds are created in the image of God, number one. Number two, in order, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Conjuring. The main premise of the movie is you get power over the demon by naming the demon. We have to understand that all of us carry our own biases. And if you can see it in yourself, that is the first step to breaking the cycle of classism. It didn't start with black people. It didn't start with white people. It exists in all races, creeds, and fashions. Get some friends from a different ethnicity. Be a little more culturally aware. Understand there is such a thing as pretty privilege, because all these things can get misconstrued with what we call colorism. This was Grown Folks Only, and thank you.
Grown folks